So I want you to imagine a single text message, just a normal message on your phone.
Right, something really short.
Exactly. It is very short. It has only 25 words.
Just 25.
Yeah, it has only 113 letters in total. It is so small that you can read it out loud in less than 1 minute.
Oh, easily. Less than a minute.
Now imagine that if you do not read this exact text message out loud many times every single day.
Your entire spiritual life is considered broken.
Yes. It just does not count. Today, we are exploring a set of words that carries exactly that much weight. We are unpacking Surah Al-Fatiha,
the very first chapter of the Holy Book of Islam, the Quran.
Right. And it is a massive topic.
It really is. And, it is fascinating because it is so central to the lives of nearly 2 billion people around the world. Every single day, millions of people just stop what they are doing to recite these exact words.
So for our deep dive today, we brought together some really fantastic information. We looked at historical records, deep meaning guides from places like the Yaqeen Institute, and learned Quran online.
And we even looked at detailed lessons on how the human mouth makes these specific ancient sounds.
Yeah, that part is really cool. Our mission today is to break all of this down into very simple, clear English. We want to understand what these words actually mean and, why you should care.
Right. And that is exactly what we do here. We take big ideas and we walk through them step by step.
But I want to start with a little bit of pushback, just thinking about this logically. I look at this chapter. It is 7 short lines, just 7 sentences.
Yeah.
How can 7 sentences be the absolute most important thing a person says all day? I mean, it just seems too small to be that important.
Well, it looks small on the outside, yes. But think about a key.
A key, like for a door.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A key is a very small piece of metal. It fits right in your pocket. It is much smaller than a house.
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
Right. But without that small piece of metal, you cannot open the heavy front door. You cannot go inside.
You can't see the house at all.
Exactly. You cannot see the beautiful rooms, the furniture, or the lights. Surah Al-Fatiha is exactly like that small key. The rest of the Quran is a giant, beautiful house full of rules, stories, and deep ideas. But this short chapter is the key to the front door.
So, if you do not understand the key,
you cannot truly understand the house.
The key to a beautiful house, I can really picture that. It opens the door to everything else. And that actually connects perfectly to its name, right?
It does.
Because before we even look at the sentences, we need to talk about the name of this chapter, Al-Fatiha. What does that word actually mean in simple English?
So the Arabic language is very interesting. It is built like a set of building blocks.
Building blocks, okay.
Yeah. Words are made from small root sounds, usually just 3 letters. The root for this word is the sound FTH.
FTH?
Yes. And in English, this root simply means to open or to unlock.
Oh.
So when you say Al-Fatiha, you are literally saying the opener. Or the thing that opens.
Because it's the very first thing you read when you open the physical book.
Exactly.
The opener. That makes perfect sense. You open the book and there it is. But as I was reading through the research, I noticed something that really surprised me.
Oh.
Well, yeah, it has more than one name, like a lot more. The famous history scholars like Al-Qurtubi and Al-Tabari, they spent a long time studying this chapter.
They did.
And they made lists of all the different names people use for it. They found 12 different names for this one tiny chapter.
12 names. Yeah.
12 names for 25 words. That seems crazy.
Well, in old Arab culture, this is actually a very big deal. If something is just normal, it gets one name. Like if a sword is just a normal sword, you call it a sword.
Right.
But if a sword is magical or perfectly sharp or, saves your life in a big battle,
you give it a special name.
Exactly. You give it many special names. You name it the fast one or the lifesaver. Giving something many names shows extreme love and extreme importance.
Okay, that makes sense.
The names tell us exactly what the thing does for the people who use it.
Okay, well, let's explore some of these names. Because the most famous name on the list is really interesting. The name is al-Kitab.
Yes, very famous.
And in English, this translates to the mother of the book. It is also called al-Quran, which means the mother of the Quran.
Right.
But I have to stop you right there. Mother is a deeply beautiful word. It makes me think of my own mom. Someone who loves me and takes care of me.
Of course.
But why do they call a chapter in a book a mother? That seems like a really strange choice of words. I mean, why not call it the king of the book or the father of the book?
That is a wonderful question. To understand this, we have to look at how the Arab people lived in the desert hundreds of years ago.
Okay.
We have to look at how they used the word or mother. They did not just use it for a human woman who has a baby.
I didn't.
No. They used the word mother for something that holds everything else together. Think about a family. A mother wraps her arms around her family and keeps them close.
Right. She is the center of the home.
Exactly. So the Arabs use this word for the central thing that holds a group of things together.
I think I need a concrete example of that. How would they use it in normal daily life back then?
Okay, imagine a very large army, thousands of soldiers walking across a desert. It is dusty, it is noisy, and it is really confusing.
Sure.
At the very front of the army, there's a man holding a giant flag. The flag is flying high in the air. The Arabs used to call that big flag the mother.
Wait, the flag was the mother. Why?
Because all the soldiers looked at the flag to know where to go. If the flag moved left, the whole army moved left.
Oh, I see. If the flag stopped, the army stopped.
Yes. The soldiers followed the flag exactly like children follow their mother in a crowded market.
Wow.
The flag kept them together. It stopped them from getting lost. The flag was standing tall. The army was strong and together. So the flag was the mother of the army.
That completely changes how I think about the word. It is the guiding center.
Exactly. Let me give you another example from history. A famous scholar named Ibn Jarir explained this perfectly. Think about your own body.
Okay.
Inside your head, you have a brain. Your brain is very soft and very important.
Yeah.
Around the brain, there is a thin, strong skin.
Right.
This skin wraps around the brain to protect it and keep it in one piece. The old Arabs called that skin the mother of the head.
The mother of the head. Because it wraps around the most important part and keeps it safe.
Yes. It holds it all together. It is the foundation. And, a foundation is the most important part of anything you build.
Right, like building a house. You do not start with the roof.
You do not start with the windows either.
No, you dig a deep hole in the dirt and you pour hard, strong concrete into the ground. That concrete is the foundation.
And it holds up the walls. It holds up the roof.
If the strong concrete is not there, the house will fall down when the wind blows.
Exactly. Surah Al-Fatiha is the strong foundation for the whole religion of Islam. It holds all the big ideas together in one place.
Okay, so it is the opener because it is at the start. It is the mother because it holds everything together like a foundation. What are some of the other names on that list of 12?
Well, another very famous name is Alhamd.
Alhamd.
This means the praise. Praise is when you say wonderful things about someone to show respect. It gets this name because the very first main idea in the chapter is saying thank you and giving high respect to God.
So it starts with a positive, grateful feeling.
It does. Another name is Ash-Shifa.
Ash-Shifa, what does that mean?
It means the cure or the medicine.
Wait, medicine? Like a pill you take when you are sick?
Exactly like that.
Really?
Yes. But we are going to save that idea for a few minutes. We will dive very deeply into how words can act like physical medicine later on. It is an amazing story.
Okay, I am definitely looking forward to that.
Another name is Al-Asas, which literally translates to the foundation, just like the concrete we talked about.
You know, I really like thinking about it like a table of contents in a book.
Oh, that is a good way to look at it.
Yeah, because when you buy a heavy 500-page book, you open the front cover.
Yeah.
The very first page does not have the whole story.
No, it just has a list.
Right. It tells you what is inside the book. It says chapter 1 is about this, chapter 2 is about that. Surah Al-Fatiha is like that front page. It tells you every big idea you need to know about the religion, but it does it in just 25 words.
That is a brilliant way to describe it. And the scholars completely agree with your idea. They say that the whole message of the Quran, who God is, how humans should act, and what happens after we die, is all squeezed tightly into these 7 lines.
Okay, so we understand the names. We know it means the opener and the mother of the book. The next big question is, where did it come from?
Ah, the history.
Yes, how did these specific 25 words get to Earth? The history here is incredibly dramatic. Our research tells a story about a special light coming down from the sky.
The historical context is truly beautiful. To understand it, we need to look at the city of Mecca. Most history experts agree that this is a Meccan surah.
Which means it happened in Mecca.
Right. It simply means it was given to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, while he was living in the city of Mecca. Mecca is a city deep in the desert. At this time, it was a busy trading town. People came from all over to buy and sell things.
And what makes this specific chapter so special in his life? I mean, didn't he receive many chapters?
He did receive many chapters over 23 years. But the history books tell us that Surah Al-Fatiha was the very first complete chapter given to him all at once.
Oh, all at once.
Yes. Before this moment, he only received small pieces, maybe 3 lines here or 5 lines there. This was the very first time a whole complete chapter came down from heaven from start to finish.
And the story of exactly how it happened sounds like a scene from a huge movie.
It really does.
Let's really paint the picture for you listening. Imagine the desert. It is quiet. The Prophet Muhammad is sitting with a very famous angel. The angel's name's Jibril, which is Gabriel in English.
Yes.
They're just sitting together talking. Then suddenly there is a noise.
A massive sound. Imagine sitting in a quiet room and suddenly hearing a loud, heavy roar coming from the sky above your head.
Like thunder.
Like thunder, but different. Like a giant door made of heavy wood and metal being pushed open. The sound was so loud and strange that the prophet looked up, trying to understand what was happening.
But the angel Jibril did not look confused.
No, Jibril knew exactly what that sound was. He looked up at the sky and told the prophet, "A gate has just opened in heaven. A door in the sky has just been opened, and this specific door has never ever been opened before today."
Just pause and think about that. A door in the sky that has been closed since the beginning of time, and it opens for the very first time while you are sitting there. That gives me chills.
He is very powerful.
So the door opens, what happens next?
Jibril watches the open door, and a new angel comes down through it. Jibril turns to the prophet and says, "This angel has just come down to the earth, and this angel has never come down to earth before today."
So we have a brand new door that was never open, and a brand new angel who has never visited the earth.
Exactly. This sends a very clear message. Whatever this angel is bringing is completely new and incredibly important.
So the new angel walks right up to the prophet, and the angel speaks. He does not just say hello, he says, rejoice.
Yeah, rejoice.
For anyone learning English, rejoice is a strong word that means be incredibly happy and celebrate. The angel says, rejoice in 2 lights given to you. These lights were never given to any prophet before you.
And one of these lights was Surah Al-Fatiha.
Right. The other light was the last part of a different chapter called Surah Al-Baqarah.
Then the new angel makes a massive promise. He says, never will you read a word from them without being given what you ask for.
Wow.
This means that when you read these words, God is listening and God will answer the prayer inside the words. The prophet himself later confirmed how special this was. He said that God did not put anything exactly like this chapter in the older holy books.
Like the Bible.
Right. It is not in the Torah of Moses and it is not in the Gospel of Jesus. It was a brand new gift.
Okay, I need to push back on something here. I want to look closely at the words the angel used.
Okay.
The angel said, rejoice in 2 lights. Why did the angel call it a light? I mean, let's be realistic. It is just words.
Words, yeah.
Words are just invisible sounds we make by pushing air out of our mouths. How can a sound from your mouth be a light?
It is a great question. To understand this, we have to look at how the Quran uses the concept of light.
No.
In Arabic, the word is nur.
Nur.
Yes. It does not mean a physical light bulb or the fire of a candle. It means guidance. It means seeing the truth clearly.
Give me an example. How does a word act like a light?
Let's do a thought experiment. Imagine you are placed inside a very large, strange building. There are no windows at all.
Okay, no windows.
The heavy door behind you is locked. The lights are completely turned off. It is perfectly, totally dark. You cannot even see your own hand if you hold it up to your face. Now you have to walk across this room to find the exit. What is going to happen?
Well, I'm going to be terrified. I will walk very slowly. I will probably trip over a chair, hit my knee on a table, and fall down. I will get hurt because I cannot see what is in front of me. I would give anything for a flashlight.
Exactly. You desperately need a lamp or a flashlight. Now, bring this back to real life. Human life is very much like that dark room.
That makes a lot of sense.
We are born into a complicated world. We do not know the future. Life is extremely confusing. We have to make hard choices every day.
Like, who should I marry?
Yes. What job should I take? How do I treat my family? Why do sad things happen? Often people feel lost. They feel like they're walking in the dark, hitting the walls and getting hurt by bad choices.
It is a very real feeling. A lot of people feel like they are guessing their way through life in the dark.
The scholars say that this chapter is your flashlight.
Oh, I see.
It is a light for your mind and your heart. When you read it and understand it, the confusion goes away. The darkness of the room disappears. Suddenly, you can see the safe path.
You can see the right way to walk so you do not get hurt.
You know who God is, and you know what you are supposed to do. That deep understanding is why the angel called it a light. It lights up the dark confusion of human life.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. The words turn the light on in your brain. So if this chapter acts like a flashlight in a dark room, the obvious next question is, what do the actual words say?
Right, how do we turn the flashlight on?
Exactly. We know it has a special name, and we know an angel brought it. But let's look at the actual sentences.
The structure of the sentences is absolutely brilliant. It is not just a list of facts. It is designed to be split perfectly into two equal halves.
Two equal halves.
Yes. And it is designed as a conversation. There's a real dialogue between two sides.
A conversation.
Between who? Between God and the person praying. In the first half, the words answer the biggest question of the universe.
Yeah.
Who is God?
Okay.
In the second half, the words answer the biggest question for the human being.
Yeah.
Who am I and what do I need?
A conversation. That makes it feel very alive, not like reading an old history book. Let's break down these lines step by step, using very simple English so you can easily follow along. The chapter starts with verse 1.
Yes.
It is a very famous line. People call it the Bismillah. In English, it translates to, "In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful."
Now, before we go to the next line, we should note that there is a small debate among scholars here.
A debate.
Yeah. Some scholars say this line is the official first verse of the chapter. Other scholars say it is not the first verse, but rather a starting phrase that you say before the chapter officially begins.
Does that matter?
Practically, it does not matter much because everyone agrees you must say it before you read the chapter. You are starting your action by remembering God's name and remembering that He is full of grace and mercy.
Right. You are setting a positive tone. Then we move to verse 2. This is where the core message really begins.
What does it say?
It says, "All praise and thanks be to Allah, the Lord of existence." In Arabic, the words are Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. There are two very important words here that we need to explain. The first is Rabb, which is translated as Lord.
Yes, Lord.
But Lord feels like an old English word for a king in a castle. What does Rabb actually mean?
Well, Rabb is a much deeper word than just king or boss. It means the master and the owner. But it also means the one who nurtures and takes care of something.
Nurtures, like taking care of a baby.
Or like a gardener. Think of a gardener who owns a garden. He's the master of the garden, but he also waters the plants, pulls out the bad weeds, and makes sure the flowers grow perfectly. God is the owner, but He is also the one actively taking care of everything.
He is the master gardener of the universe. I love that. And what about the next word, Al-Alamin? The translation says existence or the worlds.
Al-Alamin means absolutely everything that exists except God Himself. It is plural. It means the worlds.
The worlds, plural.
Yes. We often think of just our world, the earth. But the Arabic word reminds us there are many worlds. There's the world of human beings. There's the world of animals.
What about the ocean?
Exactly. Think about the deep ocean. There's a whole world of strange fish living in the dark that we have never even seen.
That is a whole world right there.
There is the world of microscopic cells. There's the world of massive stars and galaxies in space. There is the unseen world of angels. God is the master and the caretaker of every single one of these worlds.
So when you say verse 2, you are standing in your living room, but your mind is zooming out to look at the stars, the oceans, and the bugs, and you are saying thank you to the one who manages all of it.
Exactly. It makes your own problems feel smaller when you realize how big the universe is and that the master is in control of it all.
Then we move to verse 3. It repeats the beautiful names from the beginning. It says, the most gracious, the most merciful.
It is interesting, isn't it?
It is, because right after talking about being the powerful master of all galaxies, it immediately reminds you that He is kind, gentle, and full of love. He is not a cruel master.
Yes, the balance is perfect.
Yeah.
Power first, then incredible mercy. Then verse 4 brings a different feeling. It says, Master of the day of judgment.
The day of judgment sounds very serious. Why is this day mentioned right at the beginning of the book?
Because the day of judgment is the final day at the end of the world. It is the day when every single human being will stand before God and be asked about what they did in their life.
Like a big test.
Exactly. Did they help people? Did they hurt people?
Yeah.
It is mentioned here because it is the ultimate promise of justice. In this world, life is often unfair.
Oh, definitely.
Sometimes bad people steal money and get rich and they never go to jail.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes good people suffer and die poor. If this world was all there is, it would be a terrible, unfair system.
So this verse is a promise.
Verse 4 promises that a final day is coming where everything will be made fair, the bad will be punished, and the good will be rewarded. God is the king of that final perfect day.
Okay, so we have covered the first 4 lines. We established that God is the loving, powerful master of everything and the king of the final day of justice. This is the end of the first half of the chapter. We just described who God is. But here's where my mind was completely blown during our research. This is where the concept of a conversation becomes literal.
Yes, this is perhaps the most beautiful part of our entire deep dive today. To understand this, we look at a special teaching called a Hadith Qudsi.
A Hadith Qudsi.
A Hadith Qudsi is a message where the Prophet Muhammad tells us exactly what God says. It is a direct quote from God.
I really want you to explain this slowly because it changes everything about how a person views praying. What does God do when a human being reads these lines?
The message explains that God divided this specific prayer into 2 halves between himself and the person praying.
Okay.
When you are standing on your prayer mat in your quiet room and you say the words, God actually answers back to you right in that exact moment.
Wait, hold on. I need to push back again.
Huh?
Are you saying the creator of the universe, the master of the galaxies, is having a real-time one-on-one conversation with me while I am just standing in my house in my socks?
Yes.
How do we know this isn't just a metaphor, a nice poetic story to make people feel good?
According to Islamic theology, it is not just a poem. It is a literal reality of the unseen world. God exists outside of human time. He can listen to millions of people at once and give each one his full attention. The text is very clear about the dialogue.
How does the dialogue work?
When you open your mouth and say, "All praise to Allah, the Lord of existence," God immediately speaks to the angels near him and says, "My servant has praised me."
He announces it to the angels.
Yes. Then you say the next line. You say, "The most gracious, the most merciful," and God answers you saying, "My servant has said great things about me." And you say, "Master of the day of judgment." And God answers, "My servant has glorified me."
I am just trying to wrap my head around this. If you truly believe this is happening, it makes prayer feel completely different.
It really does.
It is not just reading a boring speech from a piece of paper. It's not talking to a wall. It is a phone call. You say a line into the phone, you pause, you wait for a second, and the king of the universe answers you on the other side.
Exactly. It is a two-way street. You speak, he speaks. When a person realizes this, it creates a very powerful feeling in their chest. In Arabic, this feeling is called khushu.
Khushu. What does that mean?
It is hard to translate perfectly into English. It means deep focus, extreme respect, and a quiet, humble heart. It is the feeling you get when you realize you are standing in front of extreme power, but also extreme love.
So you are not distracted.
Right. If you were talking to a king or a famous president, you would not be looking at your phone. You would not be thinking about what you want for lunch. You would be totally focused. Khushu is that total mental focus during prayer because you know God is actively talking back to you.
That is beautiful, a two-way chat that forces you to pay attention. Okay, so after this back and forth about God's power, we reach the middle of the chapter. Verse 5, this verse is the turning point. It acts like a bridge connecting the two halves.
Yes. Verse 5 says, "You alone we worship, and from you alone we seek help." In Arabic, the words are Iyaka nabudu wa Iyaka nasta'in.
Wow, notice the massive grammatical change here.
The grammar shifts completely.
Before this verse, we were talking about God. We said, He is the master, He is merciful. We're talking in the third person. But suddenly, in verse 5, we look directly at God. We change to the word you. We say, you alone we worship.
It feels like taking a physical step forward.
Yeah, like you were talking about someone across the room, and then you walk right up to their face and look them in the eyes. You say, I worship only you, and I ask only you for help.
Exactly. It is intensely personal.
Hmm.
By saying, from you alone we seek help, you are making a huge admission. You are admitting that you are weak. You are saying, I cannot fix my life by myself. I cannot heal my sickness by myself. I need help. And you are the only one strong enough to give it.
This leads us naturally to the next big question. Once we step forward, look directly at God, and ask Him for help, what do we actually ask for?
That is the big question.
If the King of the universe says, I will help you, what is the one big thing we request?
This is where we see the ultimate goal of the prayer. We do not ask for $1 million. We do not ask for a big house or a fast car. Verse 6 gives us the most important request a human can make.
What does it say?
It says, guide us to the straight path. In Arabic, Ihdina al-Sirat al-Mustaqim. Guide us. Show us the way to walk. Show us the map. Give us the flashlight in the dark room.
guide us to the straight path. It is so simple, but it covers everything. Because if you are on the straight path, you will make the right choices about your money, your family, and your life.
Exactly.
But what exactly is this path? Verse 7, the final line of the chapter, explains it by showing us 3 different groups of people. Let's break down verse 7. It says, the path of those who got your grace, not the path of those who got anger, and not the path of those who are lost.
Yes, 3 very distinct groups of people. Let's start with group 1. These are the people on the straight path. The verse calls them the people who got God's grace.
Grace means a beautiful favor or a special gift, right?
Yeah, right. Historically, these are the prophets. The brave people who stood up for justice, the kind people, the honest workers. These are people who looked for the truth, found the map, and then used the map to drive their cars safely to the destination. We are asking God to put us in their car.
Okay, that is group 1, the successful group. We want to be like them. What about group 2? The verse says, not the path of those who got anger. Who are these people?
Group 2 is a very tragic group. These are people who learned the truth. They were given the map. They knew exactly what was right and what was wrong, but they became arrogant.
Arrogant. They thought they knew better.
Yes, they said no to the truth. They decided to do bad things anyway. To use our driving analogy, they have a perfect map sitting on the seat next to them, but they purposely turn the steering wheel and drive the car off a cliff.
They know better, but they choose the wrong way. That earns anger.
Exactly.
Having the map and throwing it out the window, that is dangerous. And finally, group 3. The verse calls them those who are lost or astray.
Group 3 are people who simply wander through life without asking big questions. They do not have a map. They do not look for a map. They just follow the crowd.
So if the crowd goes left, they go left?
Right. If the crowd does bad things, they do bad things. They don't mean to be evil, but they are completely lost in the dark. So in this final prayer, we say, God, please give us the map and help us follow it like group 1. Keep us away from the arrogant people in group 2 and wake us up so we are not asleep and lost like group 3.
Now, I have a massive question about this, a logical pushback. Think about a good, devout Muslim,
Okay.
someone who prays 5 times a day, someone who gives to charity and is nice to their neighbors. They are already a good believer. Why do they need to ask God to guide them to the straight path 17 times every single day?
That is a very fair point.
Haven't they already found the path? They are standing on the prayer mat. Why keep begging for a map you already have in your pocket?
That is a highly intelligent question. In fact, classical scholars ask the exact same thing. We look to the brilliant explanation of a famous scholar named Ibn Kathir to answer this.
What did he say?
Ibn Kathir explains that human beings are fundamentally weak. Our brains are forgetful. Our hearts change direction quickly. You do not just find the path on a Tuesday and then stay safe for the rest of your life.
So it's not a one-time achievement. You don't just win and you're done.
Exactly. Let's choose the analogy to make it very clear. Imagine you are walking on a very narrow path at the very top of a high, snowy mountain.
Okay, a mountain path.
The path is covered in slippery ice. The wind is blowing incredibly hard from the left, trying to push you over the edge. There are loose rocks everywhere.
I am getting dizzy just thinking about it. It sounds terrifying.
Right. Being on the path is not enough. You have to keep walking on it. Every single step requires intense focus. If you stop paying attention for 1 minute, you slip on the ice and fall off the mountain.
So the wind is like daily life.
Yes, the wind of daily life stress, anger, money problems, bad friends is constantly trying to push you off the straight path. When a believer asks for guidance 17 times a day, they are not saying, "Where's the path?" They are saying, "God, hold my hand tight so I do not slip on the ice today. Keep my feet steady for the next few hours."
That makes perfect sense. You need constant help to stay balanced. So we have covered the deep meaning of the words. We see how it works as a map and a flashlight. But now we arrive at a part of our deep dive that absolutely fascinated me. It is completely unexpected.
Oh, the ruke.
Yes. We usually think of prayers as things that help your soul or make you feel calm in your mind. But historical records show this chapter actually heals physical injuries. Real, bleeding, painful body problems.
Yes, the Arabic word for this concept is ruqya.
Ruqya.
Ruqya translates to a remedy, a healing practice, or a spiritual medicine. To truly understand how this works, we need to tell one of the most famous stories from Islamic history. It is the story of a man named Abu Sa'id al-Khudri.
I will set the scene for you listening. Picture the hot, dusty Arabian desert hundreds of years ago. Abu Sa'id al-Khudri is traveling with a group of friends. They have been walking or riding camels for days. They are exhausted. They are hungry and thirsty.
Very normal for desert travel back then.
Right. They finally stop and set up a small camp near another group of people, an Arab tribe that lived in that area.
The travelers go to the tribe and politely ask for some food and water, which is a normal custom in the desert. But this tribe is not friendly. They say no. They refuse to help the tired travelers.
So Abu Said and his friends just sit in their camp, hungry and resting.
Then everything changes.
Suddenly, a young girl from the unfriendly tribe comes running toward the travelers' camp. She is in an absolute panic.
She is terrified. She runs up to the man and shouts, "Our tribe's leader has been stung by a scorpion."
And for anyone who doesn't know, a scorpion is a very scary bug that lives in the sand. It has a long tail with a sharp needle at the end. That needle injects a powerful poison. If a scorpion stings a human, it causes burning pain, fever, shaking, and sometimes the person can even die. It is a serious medical emergency.
It is terrible pain. And the young girl explains that the men of her tribe are away. There is no one to help the leader. He is lying there, suffering terribly. She looks at the travelers and asks, "Does any of you know how to do a ruqya? Does anyone know a healing?"
Now, Abu Said tells this story later, and he says, one of our guys stood up to go help, and we were all confused because we didn't even know this guy knew anything about healing. But the traveler walks over to the sick leader. The leader is twisting in pain.
The traveler did not pull out a bandage.
No, he does not crush up any green leaves or herbs. He does not use any physical medicine at all. He just sits next to the man, takes a breath, and reads Surah Al-Fatiha out loud over the scorpion's sting.
And the result is immediate. The historical record says the leader got completely better. The poison stopped burning. The fever broke. The man stood up as if nothing had ever happened to him.
It is a miracle. The leader is so shocked and so grateful that he completely changes his attitude. He's no longer unfriendly. He gives the travelers a massive reward. He gives them 30 sheep to eat and plenty of fresh milk to drink.
But the travelers are very careful men. They do not want to do anything ethically or legally wrong in their new religion. They say, "Wait, is it okay for us to take payment for reading the Quran? Let's not eat the sheep yet. Let's wait until we return to the city of Medina and ask the Prophet Muhammad directly."
That is smart. So they travel back to the city, they go to the Prophet and tell him the whole crazy story about the scorpion, the prayer, and the 30 sheep.
The Prophet listens to the story and he smiles. He looks at the man who read the chapter and asks him a very interesting question. He says, "How did you know it is ruqya? How did you know it was a healing?"
So he confirmed it.
He confirmed that what the man did was perfectly right. He approved of it so much that he laughed and joked with them, saying, "Share the sheep among yourselves and save a piece of meat for me too."
I want to stop and analyze this. I'm sure some people listening might be skeptical. They might ask, is this just the placebo effect?
The placebo effect.
Yeah, the placebo effect is when your brain thinks you are getting medicine, so your body naturally feels a little better because you relax. Is it just the sick man calming down because someone was speaking softly to him?
To answer that, we can look at a brilliant observation by another classic scholar, Ibn al-Qayyim. He points out a very important detail in the story. The sick man's tribe hated the travelers. They were enemies who refused to give them food.
Oh, right.
The sick man did not trust the traveler. He had no reason to believe the traveler's words would help him. He was not relaxed. Yet the healing still worked instantly. Ibn al-Qayyim argues this proves it's not just a psychological trick. The Arabic words themselves, when spoken with pure belief, carry a physical energy or power that interacted with the poison.
The words themselves have power. And Ibn al-Qayyim actually tested this on himself, didn't he?
Yes, he did. Much later in history, Ibn al-Qayyim lived in Mecca. He wrote that he suffered from terrible, crippling pain in his body. He could barely move. He had no doctors around him.
So what did he do?
He decided to use the same method. He would recite Surah Al-Fatiha over his own hands and then wipe his hands over the parts of his body that were hurting. He wrote that the pain dropped away quickly, like a pebble falling from his hand to the floor. He also used to read the chapter over glasses of Zamzam water, a famous water well in Mecca, and drink it to heal his stomach.
You know, I like to think of this chapter as a first aid kit for the mind and the body, but I want to explain exactly how that works, especially for mental pain.
Go ahead.
When you get a deep cut on your arm, it bleeds. You use a tight bandage called a tourniquet to squeeze the arm and stop the bleeding so you don't die.
Right, a tourniquet.
Mental pain is like that. When you lose your job or a family member gets sick, your mind starts bleeding. You panic, you spiral into anxiety. You think, my life is over. Everything is ruined.
That is a very accurate description of human panic.
Surah Al-Fatiha acts like a psychological tourniquet. When your mind is panicking, you force yourself to stop and say, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, all praise to the Master of all worlds. By forcing your brain to acknowledge that God is totally in control of the giant universe, it immediately stops the panic from spreading. It squeezes the wound tight.
It reminds you that your lost job is a tiny problem for the master of the galaxies. It heals the anxiety by changing your perspective.
That is a phenomenal analogy. It stops the bleeding of the mind. Now, because these 25 words are so incredibly powerful, because they act as a map, a flashlight, a conversation with God, and a medical cure, it is extremely important to try to say them correctly. We cannot just mumble the words.
No, precision is key. This brings us to a fascinating area of study, the rules of pronunciation.
Yes, the science of how to make the sounds. In Arabic, this science is called tajweed. It is the set of rules for making every letter sound perfect. We are going to do a very quick, very simple language lesson here.
Let's do it.
Let's look closely at the very first word of the chapter, right after the Bismillah. The word is alhamdu. This means all praise. But if you look at the written Arabic letters, there is a special rule for the very first letter.
Yes. The very first letter of that word is a straight vertical line. It's called the alif. But in the complex rules of tajweed, this is not just a normal A sound. The specific letter has a special name. It's called hamzat al-waslu. In simple English, we can call it a connecting aleph.
A connecting aleph. Explain exactly how that works in the human mouth.
It works like this. The Arabic language hates awkward pauses. It wants sentences to flow smoothly like water in a river. If this connecting letter is in the middle of a sentence, it is completely silent. You stay quiet, your tongue skips right over it to keep the water flowing. But because the word alhamdu is the very first word you are speaking out loud, you are starting from zero. You cannot stay quiet.
You have to start the engine.
Exactly. You must use your throat to make a strong, clear A sound.
Ah.
And then you must quickly connect it to the tip of your tongue, making the next letter, which is an L sound, the lamb. So you open your mouth and say, al, alhamdu.
Let me use another simple picture to explain this. Think about a bridge over a deep river. You are standing on one side, and you need to get to the L sound on the other side. You cannot just jump. You need the bridge. This connecting A sound is the bridge. You step on the A to cross over to the LL. But that is not the only tricky letter in this word, is it?
Not at all. The next part of the word is hamdu. The H sound here is very special. In English, when we say hello or house, the H sound comes from the top of the chest. It is just soft breath.
Like breathing on a cold day?
But in Arabic, the letter ha in alhamdu comes from death inside the middle of the throat. Yeah. You have to squeeze your throat muscles tightly. It sounds like you are breathing out hard on a cold window to make fog. A sharp, clear veer Y.
Hamdu. I can feel the difference in my throat when I try it. The chest H is soft, the throat H is sharp. But a listener might ask, why does this matter? God understands all languages. God knows what is in my heart. Why do people spend years practicing how to squeeze their throat just right to make an ancient sound?
It is about two things: preservation and respect.
Preservation.
First, preservation. By forcing every generation to learn the exact throat movements, Muslims have kept the sound of the Quran exactly the same for over 1,400 years. When you read it today, your mouth is moving in the exact same way the Prophet Muhammad's mouth moved in the desert. You are keeping history alive.
That is an amazing thought, a continuous chain of human voices across time.
Second, it is about respect. When you meet someone you truly respect, you try to pronounce their name correctly. You don't just say whatever, it's close enough. By taking the time, even when it is difficult, to learn the rules of tajweed, you are showing God that his message is important to you. You are saying, I care enough about this gift to hold it carefully.
I love that. You show love by trying your best. Okay, we have explored so much incredible detail today. We unpacked the root names, the mother of the book holding the religion together. We talked about the loud sound in heaven and the new angel bringing the flashlight. We walked through the real-time conversation with the master of the worlds.
We analyzed the three groups on the straight path, the cure for the scorpion sting, and the bridge in the throat to say it correctly.
Now, I want to bring it all home to you, the listener. Let's talk about the big benefits. Why should you care about this chapter today in the modern world?
The absolute most critical thing to know is its role in the daily prayer, the salah. If a person is Muslim, they are required to pray 5 times a day. And inside those prayers, they must recite Surah Al-Fatiha a total of 17 times.
17 times a day.
The Prophet Muhammad made a very strict rule about this. He said, there is no prayer for the one who does not read the opening of the book.
That is a black and white rule. If you skip this chapter, your prayer is broken. It does not count.
Yes. It is the absolute core requirement. But beyond the rules, there are massive psychological and social benefits in this world right now. The biggest one is unity.
Unity. Bringing people together. How does one short chapter do that? I want to understand the mechanics of how that works in real life.
Think about the massive differences in the human race. There are nearly 2 billion Muslims alive today. Some of them are incredibly rich businessmen living in glass towers in Dubai. Some of them are poor farmers living in small villages in Indonesia.
They live in totally different worlds.
Some speak English, some speak Urdu, some speak French. In normal life, the rich businessman and the poor farmer have nothing in common. They're separated by money and class.
Right.
But when the time for prayer comes, something magical happens. If they are in the same building, the billionaire and the farmer stand shoulder to shoulder, their feet touching. The money does not matter. The clothes do not matter. And they open their mouths and say the exact same 25 words in the exact same Arabic language. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. For that 1 minute, all the fake human divisions are erased. They are just two equal human beings talking to their master. That creates a level of human unity that is almost impossible to find anywhere else.
That is deeply moving. It is the ultimate equalizer. No matter how important you think you are just a servant saying the same words as the person next to you. And what about the benefits for the next life, after we pass away?
The theological texts are full of promises about this. Our historical sources explain that reciting Al-Fatiha with a pure heart helps to erase your bad deeds. When you make mistakes, this prayer acts like an eraser on a chalkboard, cleaning your record. And when the day of judgment comes, that final day we talked about in verse 4, this chapter will defend you. It will argue for you to be given a high, beautiful place in paradise.
Let me summarize the whole experience of this chapter. We live in a world that is moving so fast. Everyone is staring at their phones, rushing to work, stressed about money, and watching bad news on the television. Your brain is always running. But 5 times a day, this chapter forces you to hit the pause button.
Yes, a complete mental stop.
It takes less than 60 seconds to read, but in those 60 seconds, you step out of the loud world. You remember that there is a master who is taking care of the massive universe. You remember that he is merciful. You ask him for the map so you don't fall off the mountain. And you remember that the stress of today doesn't matter because ultimate justice is coming on the final day. It centers you. It resets your brain.
Exactly. It brings you back to the foundation. You build your day on top of it.
We have spent the last hour diving as deep as we possibly can into these 7 short lines. But before we finish our deep dive today, I want to leave you, our listener, with one final provocative thought. Something beautiful to think about as you go back to your day.
There's one more amazing detail from the historical text that we haven't mentioned yet.
Right. When a large group of people finishes reciting Al-Fatiha together in a mosque, the leader finishes the last word. Then the entire room full of people says the word Ameen out loud together. Ameen means, oh God, please accept this prayer.
It is a powerful sound. Hundreds of voices saying Ameen at once.
But the prophet taught something incredible about that exact moment. He said that up in the unseen world, the angels in the sky are also listening. And the angels say Ameen at the exact same time as the humans. The prophet promised that if your human voice says Ameen at the exact same second that the angels say it, creating a perfect harmony between earth and heaven, all your past mistakes are completely wiped away. You are totally forgiven.
It is an incredible promise of mercy.
It really makes you wonder, if just 25 words of Arabic spoken with a focused mind can act as a flashlight in the dark, heal physical pain, and join your voice with invisible angels in the sky, well, what other unseen doors might open in your life just by stopping to speak the right words with a true and honest heart?
A perfect question to end on.
Keep learning, keep asking the big questions, and keep looking for the light in the dark room. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.